the domestic debt exchange program. But it turned out there could be more complexity surrounding the program than we have seen so far, because the Member of Parliament for Boko Central, Mama Yariga, argues the minister has no authority to do what he is doing. Tonight, we have a full-blown conversation on the legality or otherwise of the program. Stay with us here on Ghana Tonight. Also, the Ghana Statistical Service survey on earnings inequality in the public sector shows stark contrast in the salaries of public sector workers, some earning as low as 400 cedis a month, while others earn over 33,000 cedis. We have details including what this means for productivity and the possible implications for the fight against corruption. Stay with us on Ghana Tonight. We have all these and more. Look, let's hear from you. As always, we're very, very interactive. You have the say in what we say here on Ghana Tonight. The hashtag on Facebook and Twitter, it's going to be on the screen right now. It's Ghana Tonight. Connect with us and let's get talking. Let's settle for Ghana Briefs. The Member of Parliament for Boko Central, Mama Yariga, says transactions and negotiations undertaken by the Finance Minister on the domestic debt exchange program are illegal and unconstitutional. He argues Kenoforiata by law should have sought parliamentary approval before going ahead with the debt exchange program.
It is not about exempting any particular category. It is whether or not our finance minister has legal authority to do what he's doing. And I want to demonstrate to the finance minister in my comment that he has no legal authority to go and renegotiate any loan without the approval of this House.
Finance Minister Kenoforiata faced questions on the domestic debt restructuring from the minority in Parliament as he briefed the House about the debt exchange program for the first time. Kenoforiata defended the program despite concerns it will result in steep losses for bondholders and cause distractions to the financial sector.
Let me clarify that the current state of our debt has a lot to do with the lingering effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, the Russia-Ukraine war. This has been exacerbated by the high macroeconomic instability experienced in 2022, occasioned by downgrades by rating agencies, as well as the consequential pressures on government finances due to the actions of non-resident investors and the delayed passage of our revenue bills.
The minority in Parliament has served notice of filing a motion in the coming days that will bind the Finance Minister Kenoforiata to the exemptions under domestic debt exchange program. Member of Parliament for Ho Central and a member of the Finance Committee, Benjamin Kodo, says the motion will be clear on issues about the haircut.
Watched carefully. One of the things we said needed to be done was to bring a motion to Parliament to emphasize all that he said about exemptions. So we are going to do that. That will be more binding. So if you listen to the speaker, he said he was ready to admit any motion which we might bring to give effect to what he has said. So we are going to work at that and then make sure that really what he said is grounded in law.
The coalition of Kusol youth have questioned the deployment of the military in Wednesday's purported enscarement at the Mamprugu King's Palace in Nalerugu. They have petitioned government to back its resentment and condemnation by ensuring that the perpetrators are arrested and prosecuted.
This country needs leaders who will make the laws work. The failure of the president through the security services and the Attorney General to act or live up to their responsibilities in enforcing the law, which he has sworn to uphold and protect, are what embodies the Nairi to act this way. Ghana is a country governed by laws. Nobody is above the laws of this country, not even the President of the Republic.
The Center for Democratic Development, CDD Ghana, insists it will resist any attempt by the police of the Attorney General to amend the Audit Service Act. Attorney General Godfrey Yeboah-Dame has justified his legal opinion, citing Auditor General to have erred in the publication of the COVID-19 report after an audit.
This new assault on the Auditor General confirms our fears and concerns expressed at the time of Mr. Demlovo's exit, that if the executive's attempt to subordinate the Auditor General to its will is not met with strong pushback, we shall continue to see more of such efforts to undermine the independence of the office of the Auditor General and other constitutional bodies.
There's significant inequality in the pay of public sector workers, according to statistics released by the Ghana School Service. The first ever survey of income levels in the public sector. The service said inequality in pay levels is common across ministries, departments, and agencies. The survey shows, amongst others, that the 80% of the public workforce earn less than 3,000 cedis. Government statistician Professor Enim says these pay disparities are made worse by the bonus and allowances package in the public sector.
Basics is 20%, allowances pushes it to 23.7, deepens inequality. The inequality drops, but it drops marginally. Globally, if you think about this from a decision-making point of view, then clearly it is important that as a country we should assess our situation. The worrying part is that the inequality is more pronounced from the wealth point of view. The danger with that is if inheritance kick in, it means that inequality will be transferred from one generation to another generation.
It is not about exempting any particular category. It is whether or not our finance minister has legal authority to do what he's doing. And I want to demonstrate to the finance minister in my comment that he has no legal authority.
Look, we are in a country ruled by laws. So we're in the rule of law. So that's the Honorable Mama Yaraga, Boko Central Member of Parliament. Stay with us. He's going to be joining us on Ghana Tonight. We should be concerned about any argument that borders on the law because we are a country of laws. What does the law say? Else we'll be behaving like people in a banana republic. These are questions that not just the Boko Central Member of Parliament is asking, but other people who are also concerned about what the position of the law is, and we must all be. Take a look at this. Basic about what has been happening so far with this domestic debt exchange program. The legal framework for that is what the Mama Yarga has been asking. Which law establishes the Ghana Amalgamated Trust? And remember, this GATT was established when the financial sector cleanup took place to, as it were, support, like a vehicle to support some banks that could not meet that capital adequacy, the 400 million cedis that the Bank of Ghana then was asking. He's asking about the law or the act of parliament that establishes the Financial Stability Fund. This fund is what the finance minister says has been established to cushion institutions that are going to be affected by this domestic debt exchange program. Why direct the banks that are going to be affected by this domestic debt exchange program to go through the Ghana Migratory Trust to access the Financial Stability Fund? Who authorized the payment into the Financial Stability Fund? Those are basic, the questions about the law. And we should all be concerned about this. What is the position of the law in all of this? Because anything done outside of the law is unlawful, is illegal, is unconstitutional. That raises further questions about how some people will take advantage of the illegality to their own benefit. What does, for instance, Article 181 of the 1992 Constitution, in fact, Clause 3, 4, and 6, what does it say? Right? For the benefit of you, our viewers, this is the position of the law. We'll get into the details because apart from the Honorable Mahama Yarega, a former Attorney General of the Republic of Ghana, Ni Aikwe Otu, would also be joining us. But this is it. Article 181 of the Constitution says, no loan shall be raised by the government on behalf of itself or any other public institution. This is including the Bank of Ghana or authority otherwise done by or under the authority of an act of parliament. Keep this in mind. Clause 4. An act of parliament enacted in accordance with clause 3 of this article shall provide that the terms and conditions of a loan shall be laid before parliament and shall not come into operation unless they have been approved by a resolution of parliament. Keep this in mind as well. Clause 6. For the purposes of this article, loan includes any monies lent or given to or by the government on condition of return or repayment. So you can see the bonds in there. And any other form of borrowing or lending in respect of which A, monies from the consolidated fund or any other public fund may be used for payment or repayment. The bonds actually fall within this category of a definition of the financial instrument. Because you remember the Bank of Ghana's statement justifying why they financed the 2022 budget with some 44.5 billion. Part of the money was used to pay for maturing bonds. So this part of the law, the bonds fall in there. So this is the position of the law, Article 181 of the 1992 Constitution, that defines what government should do in procuring loans in any form, as was read in Article 4. So the Public Financial Management Act also has its own provisions, which we will get into when the two lawyers join us, a former Attorney General and a current Member of Parliament. We would have a conversation on these and more. But the banks themselves have had concerns as to why this is being done in this way and how this is going to impact on them. Remember, this Financial Stability Fund was established, according to the Finance Minister, to cushion these banks and other institutions, financial institutions that are going to be impacted by this domestic debt exchange program, insurance companies, etc. So they themselves raised these concerns earlier, prior to today. These were the concerns of the commercial banks. I mean, the Ghana Association of Banks. We had about some 17 out of the 23 banks could have their capital adequacy ratio impacted. That banks will require new capital injection of more than 16 billion cedis. And remember, this money in the Financial Stability Fund is 15 billion. So the adequacy of it to actually cushion the financial sector against the impact of this domestic debt exchange program, that is also in question. And the banks could lose as high as some 14.5 billion cedis. Apart from that, there are fears of downsizing. In fact, some of the banks, we understand, have already started laying off some staff to keep some of the portfolios going. The possibility of credit squeeze. And this is going to have an impact directly on private sector, which we are expecting to lead the process of recovery of the economy out of this crisis. The cost of credit is expected, in fact, it's gone high. For those of you who have taken loans, you know what I'm talking about. The banks, most of them, have started having their balance sheet for the year 2023, and it actually could go beyond this year. So there is a situation that they're faced with. Question is, who authorized or will authorize the payment of this 15 billion cedis into the Financial Stability Fund? Where is that money coming from? I just think that we all deserve to know. And Parliament is asking those questions on our behalf. So right after this quick break, our guests will be joining us. The Honorable Nia Ikweotu, and then also the Honorable Mama Yariga. After this quick break. This is Ghana Tonight. Stay with me.
Welcome to Magdan Aviation. Our world-class terminal, located at the Kotoka International Airport, is a fixed-base operation that offers total aviation services in Ghana's private sector space. Magdan Aviation offers convenient access to a wide variety of destinations. Just sit at the comfort of your homes or offices and book a flight to any country of your choice, and a luxurious car will be available to pick you up to the FBO, where all arrangements, including hotel bookings, transport services, among others, will be made available even in the country of destination. The FBO features an elegant lobby, business center, and a catering area to make your flight experience a memorable one. We have a very spacious terminal which houses 3 modern private jets and a helicopter for your tours, intercity transport, air ambulance services, cash carriage, and a bullion movement. Wherever you need to travel, Magdan Aviation has got you. Safety is a hallmark at Magdan. From our dedicated customer service team to the flight staff, every employee puts the safety and security of our clients first. We are here to make conducting business across the world easy and convenient.
Falling in love with the same person more than once shows just how much your love was meant to be rekindled. This Valentine, reconnect with the one you truly love. Bring back the spark and rekindle the heartbeats in your marriage at the 3FM Valentine Couples Hangout at the plush and serene Bridgeview Resort in Akosombo. Date 18th February 2023. Time 12 to 4 p.m. Come dine, wine, bond and network with other couples and your favorite celebrities from 3FM at the Bridgeview Resort, overlooking the enchanting view of the Akosombo. Special performance by Sina Soul, as well as fan couple games and other surprise performances. Book your reservation at 400 Ghana cedis for couples and 270 Ghana cedis for singles, plus amazing discounts on services on the day. For more information, call 0244 405 027. The 3FM Valentine's Couples Hangout. Rekindle the love. 3FM, your urban lifestyle radio station. Sponsored by Ebony Condoms and Forever Clear.
Ghana's high living cost is frustrating many individuals.
Now you can't save anything.
Average expenditure on food, water, transportation and rent is wiping out meager incomes, and the young, the old are feeling the pinch.
Most of us do depend on these betting companies for our daily means.
Small businesses are folding up.
Everything was moving on well till we started buying cooking oil for 1,000 Ghana.
Imagine paying rent of 1,000 Ghana cedis per month.
With the country battling extreme inflation, a budget deficit and debt distress, many are barely living from hand to mouth.
So the people that are coming out of school, one, you can't be employed in the government sector because it's already choked. Two, the businesses that are supposed to also employ the people, they are going through turbulent times.
Komladum in TV3's latest feature, Surviving Ghana's Economic Meltdown, highlights some of the living experiences of individuals.
When you don't have what it takes to employ them, then they will be a huge national security threat.
Surviving Ghana's Economic Meltdown, Wednesday, February 22 at 9 p.m. on TV3 and across all social media platforms.
Hello, welcome to the biggest family dance show. It's a big old family dance.
The battle line has been drawn. The families have been selected and ready to be unveiled.
All right, now let's get ready to boogie.
That's what I'm talking about. You see, you guys use the stage everywhere.
Kanda family, Kanda family. Will it be your family? Make a date to catch all the fun right here on the Big O Family Dance. This and every Saturday at 8 p.m. right here on TV3.
Big O Family Dance shows Saturdays at 8 p.m. on TV3.
When we discussed the business of the week, we on this side, led by approval of this House.
Mahama Ayariga says his argument is backed by the constitutional guidelines on loan agreements that the finance minister is allowed to enter.
In Article 181, Clause 3, says that no loan shall be raised by the government on behalf of itself or any other public institution or authority otherwise than by or under the authority of an Act of Parliament.
Mahama Ayariga says this is inclusive of the debt exchange program.
And it says, for the purpose of this article, loan includes any monies lent or given to or by the government on condition of return or repayment and any act of borrowing or lending in respect of which the monies will be paid from the consolidated fund. Mr. Speaker, debt securities issued by the government are undoubtedly loans. They are loans. Whether you are contracting the loan from an individual pensioner, or you are contracting it from a bank, or you are contracting it from the international financial markets, Mr. Speaker, it is a loan. And the law is clear that that loan, the terms, cannot and must be approved by this Parliament.
Well, so that's Mama Yarga, who is Boko's Central Member of Parliament. In fact, the reaction or the response from the majority leader, which I will play to you as we go on, is whether the old bonds being exchanged for these new bonds under this whole domestic debt exchange program, whether it came to Parliament or not. But Honorable Mama Yarga will establish that. He's going to join us shortly on Zoom. But let me welcome Honorable Ni Ayikwe Otu, a former Attorney General and Minister of Justice of the Republic of Ghana, a respected lawyer, an immediate past High Commissioner of Ghana to Canada. Thank you for your time on Ghana Tonight. First of all, let's start off with this, establish a few things. This Financial Stability Fund, which the Finance Minister says has been established to cushion the financial institutions and others that are going to be impacted by this domestic debt exchange program. Mama Yarga and others make the point on the basis of law, and in fact, to the extent that this 15 billion cedis fund that will be in this FSF is public money, it should have come to Parliament. What's your legal opinion on this? Honorable Ayikwe Otu.
I think so. The whole idea of budgets are to make sure that anytime you are spending, you have a basis for spending, and that's an approval from Parliament, which gives Parliament oversight of what the executive is doing. So if indeed government says it has money which is setting it aside for a particular purpose, there must be evidence that it has already been approved by Parliament.
I see.
So I think it's a good argument to make.
Right. And so you would expect that, as you say, that you agree with Mama Yarga and the others who make the point that this 15 billion cedis money in the Financial Stability Fund should come to Parliament. You would expect that they would push for more answers even beyond today, correct?
Of course. I mean, they have an oversight responsibility of the executive, which they also do with the Public Accounts Committee and all that. So they have every right to ask a few questions before they grant approval, so as to protect the public.
See, let me bring in the Honorable Mama Yarga. He's joining us on Zoom as well. He's a Boko Central Member of Parliament. Can you hear me, Honorable Mama Yarga?
Yes, I can hear you.
Great, thank you for joining us. So you've just heard the Honorable Niaiko to, in fact, he aligns with the position that indeed this Financial Stability Fund, 15 billion cedis, to the extent that we don't know where the money is coming from, and if it is coming from public sources, it should come to Parliament. I would expect that this is something you're going to pursue beyond today.
Oh, definitely. I think tomorrow I will file a motion in Parliament asking the Finance Minister to bring every request relating to the domestic debt exchange program for consideration by Parliament. As I indicated on the floor today, it is not right that on his own he chooses to embark on this whole exercise, which has never really taken place in our constitutional history. It's never taken place in Parliament. It's never taken place in this, our economy, that a finance minister has led us to default on our domestic bonds, and then it has to be restructured. So my case is that everything that he's doing should be the subject of parliamentary consideration and approval, because it is expressly provided for in the Constitution and in the Public Financial Management Act.
I see. Now, on the basis of this, the Honorable Seche Mensah Bonsu, when you made this point about the legality of this whole domestic debt exchange program and why it did not come to Parliament, he talked about the status of the old bonds. I just want you to take a listen to this, and I'll find out from you whether the point he makes is indeed what happened in Parliament. That's before this domestic debt exchange program started. Let's take a listen to Seche Mensah Bonsu earlier today in Parliament.
Engage so that people would have better appreciation of where we are. Understand that we should all be contributing, just as members of Parliament are also contributing. And we hope we should be building confidence and trust. Once we open up much more than we have done, or maybe we did initially, people will come to appreciate and agree. And I will strongly urge the Minister to continue from here, not end it in Parliament, but to continue the public engagement. Mr. Speaker, I thank you, and I thank you for the opportunity, and I believe all of us are wiser today after hearing the Finance Minister on this domestic debt exchange. I don't want to talk about the legalities that my colleague, the Honorable Mahama, raised. I disagree with him completely, because this is not a new loan that is being contracted. I disagree with him totally. It's not a new loan, but we can have another platform to debate that.
Honorable Osei Sabonso. Amayarga says this is not a new loan, but did the old loans that are being exchanged for this new, did the old bonds that are being exchanged for these new bonds under this exchange program come to Parliament?
That is where the problem is. They have assumed a practice of not bringing domestic bonds to Parliament for approval, or even after they have acquired them, bring them to Parliament for ratification. And so I believe that they are surprised because for the first time, it is being raised and their attention is being brought to the fact that these domestic bonds are equally loans. If you look at the definition of a loan in Article 1816, which I noticed you made reference to earlier, the definition of domestic bonds clearly falls within Article 1816.
Yeah.
So they are surprised that I have brought it up because in the past they've proceeded on the assumption that once it is indicated in the budget that the minister will raise money through the domestic bond medium, and then the quantum of the money is indicated, then that suffices. But today I pointed out to them that the Constitution is carefully worded to require that the terms and conditions of the loans must also be approved by a parliamentary resolution. And since domestic bonds are also loans, then the terms and conditions must also be approved. So I think they were caught off guard. And the argument of the majority leader that these are not new loans,
yes,
but old bonds or loans, and it is just a renegotiation of the terms, that is laughable because, you see, I can appreciate that he is not a lawyer. But if I offer you money and you give me the conditions and say you pay me 20%, if I give you 100 million, you pay me 20% as coupon for a year or whatever it is.
Yes.
Yeah. When and you see, they think that they are being smart or clever by couching it as a voluntary exercise in which the owners of the existing bonds are bringing back their bonds in exchange for new bonds. But you see, every first year law student who has done law of contract will know that once there is an agreement in which I have given you money and you are paying me a coupon rate of 10%, if I come back and say I am trading that existing bond for a new bond that has a certain coupon rate, it means that automatically I'm abolishing the existing contract and I'm offering you a new contract. So if I offer you a new contract, it becomes a new loan altogether, which is a loan of X amount of money for a reduced coupon rate. And it's now up to the government to accept or reject the new offer. So that becomes a new loan. And just as the old loan required that the law requires that the old loan came to Parliament for approval, this new loan also should come to Parliament for approval because we are now creating a new loan.
I see, but so you make the point that with the old loan did not actually come before Parliament, but does its status of not coming to Parliament negate the call you are making now that because you are going through a DDEP that demands that these old loans that did not go through Parliament are being exchanged for new, should actually come to Parliament? That is, even if the old ones did not come. Does it negate your call in any way?
Not at all. I'm just pointing out the fact that the finance minister has no legal right to go out there and do the things that he's doing. And just to let him understand that his actions are regulated by the express provisions of the Constitution and the Public Financial Management Act. If he has not been coming to Parliament for approvals for domestic bonds, I'm telling him today that he has been doing the wrong thing. And so he must come to Parliament for approvals for domestic bonds. So if the previous ones did not have approval and he hasn't come to even ratify that, and he goes to renegotiate new agreements, then perhaps this is the best opportunity for him to come back to Parliament for us to consider the new arrangements that he's going into. And he knows that if he should come back to Parliament, definitely we on the minority side are not going to accept this situation where you, ordinary citizens, you wake up one early morning and you don't have money to pay them. And yet they see you going on with life as usual. What do I mean? They see you recruiting and employing more people that you will have to pay. They see you not cutting down on your expenditure. They see you, elevating people from deputy ministerial portfolios to ministerial portfolios with enhanced conditions of service, which is definitely going to come from the public purse. They see you doing things that, like the former Chief Justice has said, I mean, you are not sharing the burden with yourself. You are only passing the burden to the ordinary citizens. So they know that we will reject that. And he must bring it, because I'm going to file a motion to demand that the issue be considered by Parliament. And Speaker indicated today that he's willing to accept motions. And we must look into this matter. And I must say that those who have these bonds should have gone to the court. They should have challenged.
They should have gone to court.
Yes, they should have challenged the authority of the finance minister to seek to coerce them into trading in their bonds for reduced coupon rates and deferred payment dates and etc. Because he really has no constitutional authority to do so. They should have demanded for the parliamentary approval of what he is doing.
I see.
But, a lot of people probably were not paying attention to the legality of what he has been doing. And that is why I raised it today.
Okay. That's why you go to. So you've heard Honorable Mama Mayarga there. Point is, even if the old bonds did not go through Parliament, it does not in any way negate the call for these new bonds and this whole domestic debt exchange program to go to Parliament. Because, first of all, the wrong thing was done when these bonds did not go through Parliament, as Article 181 demands.
Let me be clear with you that the area that I was asked to speak on is whether the minister had unilaterally varied the terms. This aspect makes sense to me. If indeed they were contained in a package which went before Parliament, then it only makes sense that if you want to make other changes, you go back to Parliament to make the offer to the people. I would agree to that. I would agree to that. What I am worried about is the view that he had unilaterally changed the terms of the bond. He has not done that. That one, I think he hasn't done that one. As to the fact that maybe, or the position that he went to court went to Parliament to lay these things before Parliament and got an approval, and therefore if he wants to do something else, he should go back to Parliament. I think I only agree with that.
I see, and that's the concern and the demand of Honorable Mama Yaraga and all the others, that regardless of this domestic debt exchange program ending last Friday, he should go to Parliament to seek approval for the domestic debt exchange program and the arrangement of swapping these old bonds that have been turned in for the new bonds that he is offering.
Yes, when it comes to, I think it's 180 or so, what is said is that for international commercial transactions, it is important that you come to Parliament for approval, but that it could be used mutatis mutandis. In other words, that you can apply it for other, issues. For example, so that if it's taking a loan from external loan, which is very clearly stated, it doesn't mean that if you're also taking a domestic loan, you don't have to go to Parliament. But the whole idea of getting parliamentary approval is for us to know how much that we are borrowing. Because if all the borrowing goes to Parliament for approval, then at any one point in time, the answer and all the things there that they use could just be taken, and then we can call it and find out how much loan we are taking. And if the debt to GDP ratio is becoming a problem, then it is for us to begin to advise that the way you are going, maybe you are going to crash, and that the credit agencies may be at your back and say that you are unable to pay your debts and then downgrade you. It is all this downgrading by the credit agencies that has landed us where we are. But that does not mean that we were not. What it meant is that we were not careful as we kept going to Parliament for approval. And of course, I mean, if you have the numbers, you can always get your way. Whereas the opposition, if you like, or the minority, will have their say. But you will get your way and keep on doing what you are. I think the idea of that article is to ensure that we all know at one point in time how much money we are borrowed and whether it is sustainable. Whether it is sustainable. So it's unfortunate that maybe we all sat down for this thing to explode in our faces.
Fortunate, isn't it? That's, but Mama Yarga, bring you here at this point. So how about that use of the term voluntary? I think the finance minister quite consistently emphasized today before you, the August House, that to the extent that this was voluntary, that's number one, there was no form of coercion. And so any question about the violation of the law, and in fact, the other majority members of parliament made that argument, that everybody who signed on to this voluntarily did so. Will that terminology or that description of being voluntary preclude Parliament's approval or involvement in the entire process? Hello, the Honorable Mama, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Great. And I was asking question, yes, on the question of the voluntary structure that the finance minister kept emphasizing today. Does it in any way preclude the approval and involvement of Parliament in the entire domestic debt exchange program?
That's exactly the point that I have been making, that any loan, any borrowing, any lending to the government of Ghana for whatever purpose must come to Parliament for approval in terms of the terms and conditions of such a loan. So if you read Article 181 Clause 3, it says that no loan shall be raised by the government on behalf of itself or any other public institution or authority otherwise than by or under the authority of an Act of Parliament. Then 4 says, an Act of Parliament enacted in accordance with Clause 3 of this article shall provide that the terms and conditions of a loan shall be laid before Parliament and shall not come into operation unless they have been approved by a resolution of Parliament. So the point that I have been making, simply put, is that these bonds are lending to government. So they are loans. Because if you go to the interpretation of a loan in Article 181 Clause 6, it says that for the purpose of this article, loan includes monies lent or given to or by the government on condition of return or repayment, and any other form of borrowing or lending in respect of which monies from the consolidated fund or any other public fund may be used for payment or repayment. So basically, the definition of loan is clear. A bond is lending. So you must come to Parliament to approve the terms and conditions, the coupon rate, and the duration are the terms and conditions of this lending arrangement. So if you have borrowed from people by purchasing their bonds and, or issuing bonds to them at certain coupon rates and for a certain duration, and then you want to change it, even if you couch it as a voluntary swap, that they are trading in their old, bonds for new bonds, the fact remains that the terms and conditions are going to be changed. And once the terms and conditions, which is the coupon rate and the duration, will change, then you must come to Parliament and lay that for us to approve for you. So basically, whatever the case, the finance minister cannot just on his own go around pretending that people are voluntarily, bringing in their coupons and trading it for new ones. We all know that you've been coercing them to do so. The banks have been coerced. I mean, the individuals have been told that if you don't bring in the coupon, you might lose the money itself. So you are better off coming in. So that's coercion. That's coercion. So you can't pretend that it is a voluntary exercise. And I'm saying that whatever it is, when you finish and you now have a new offer coming from the existing bondholders, that, okay, they want to take new bonds based on new terms and conditions as you are dictating, that constitutes a new loan arrangement with new terms and conditions. And because that money is going to be paid from the public purse, as provided for in Article 181, Clause 6, you must come to Parliament for us to approve it by a resolution.
I see.
Why is he afraid of coming to Parliament for us to consider it?
And you're saying that tomorrow you are going to file a motion on this?
Well, as you heard during the debate, the Speaker did indicate that if we wanted more opportunity to look into this matter, we should come by motion, and then he's very willing to accept the motion. I mean, people had different positions, There were some who didn't understand initially that fundamentally the finance minister had no authority to negotiate and bring into effect these new arrangements. Many of my colleagues, I believe, did not really have that initial appreciation. So some were calling for us to fight for certain categories to be exempted. So
Right.
that was the initial drift. But then I drew attention to the fact that fundamentally there is a legal problem, which is that whatever it is that he's doing, it has to be with the approval of Parliament. All the arrangements that he is putting in place with the Ghana Amalgamated Trust PLC,
yes,
it has to be with the blessing of Parliament. All the discussions that are ongoing about assisting the banks through the Financial Stability Fund must be with the blessing of Parliament. I mean, he cannot on his own just be running around doing these things as if there is no institution that has oversight. And so Parliament must step up and do its work of exercising oversight. And that is where we will fail the people of Ghana if we don't compel this finance minister to bring everything that he's doing to Parliament for consideration. For consideration, we have to vote on it, and then we want to see the members of Parliament who will stand on their feet and tell their constituents that the monies that they give to the government, they should accept haircuts when they don't see those MPs accepting haircuts in their salaries, or those ministers accepting haircuts in their salaries and their conditions of service, or agreeing that some of them should cease to exist as ministers in order to reduce the burden of government, and therefore, legitimizing the sacrifices that they must also make. The matter must come to Parliament for us to vote.
Okay. We'll see in the coming days, you'll say the motion and the position of not just you, but your colleagues in Parliament on this. Thank you for your time on Ghana Tonight. Honorable Amayaga, appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
He's a member of Parliament for the Boko Central constituency. And then also, thank you to you, the Honorable Nia Ikwe, the immediate past High Commissioner of Ghana to Canada, and then also a former Attorney General and Minister of Justice of the Republic of Ghana, quite aligned on the same page on this, on the legal basis, and why Ken Ofori-Atta should go to Parliament to seek approval for this domestic exchange program. Take a look at the reactions that some members of Parliament had to the issues that Ken Ofori-Atta put out today. Remember, this is the first time he's briefing Parliament on this domestic exchange program. There are a number of things to say. Take a look.
When you digest all this, what does it mean? That's the most important thing. What has the finance minister told the people of Ghana? Mr. Speaker, I sum it simple. If you evaluate what the finance minister is doing and evaluate what #1 of Men's Gold did, the two are synonymous and the same. There is no difference. #2, Mr. Speaker, if #1 had gotten this condition, his financial instrument or financial company would have existed as we speak today. And I speak not just to the executive, I also speak to ourselves as members of Parliament. In cutting expenditure, charity must begin at home, and we must lead by example. How many times have we not heard the people who elected us into office say that they have issues with the V8 that we use? How many times have we not heard our people complain about the expression we take? I'm making the point, Mr. Speaker, that the problem we have on our hands today is not just a document matter. There is a need to deal with a fundamental weakness that has characterized the management of our economy for decades. We are reaping what we have sowed as leaders, as governments, and as a people.
Mr. Speaker, what is even so obnoxious and irritating is the minister's opening remarks that this is a time to rejoice in the Lord. Jesus Christ of Nazareth, rejoice in the Lord. The minister forgets that in Proverbs chapter 29 verse 2, the Bible says that when the wicked rule, the people mourn, the people groan. There is pain and there is anxiety when the wicked rule. Proverbs 29:2. This is no time to rejoice. If the minister is still rejoicing, then our problem is bigger than I ever imagined.
In the financial sector, don't be surprised that by the time that they are done and dusted, we will have to engage in banking sector cleanup once again. Because, the Speaker, our banks are going to obviously collapse. So, Speaker, I have cited a Bank of Ghana report that says 17 banks are at risk as a result of what is happening. 17 banks. And so I urge the minister to be careful in what he's doing, not to transfer the bankruptcy to the private sector. I once said that this government only knows about one problem, one loan. This is the terminal report. It's self-inflicted. So let's come to the realization that we are where we are, attributable not to one government, but it's a country burden. How do we lift ourselves up? The assurance to them, for those of them who submit. In fact, we must admit that we are in turbulent times, and it's voluntary. You go on board, and there's some assurance that you will have a guaranteed payment of 15%. If you elect not to be there, which is your choice, then you submit and subject yourself to the vagaries of weather, which could be very, very difficult and traumatic. Mr. Speaker, today, I'm being asked for the contract. Today, our own loans that we took from the banks, do you know how much you are paying in terms of interest? Even though at the outset, it wasn't like that. So that's the fact of life. But, Mr. Speaker, I would want to plead that this is a good endeavor. We should continue, and the finance minister should continue to earn public.
Well, those are the reactions in Parliament, but stay with us. Our Parliamentary Affairs correspondent Kamla Kloche in the coming days will bring us a lot more on this and what Parliament intends to do going forward. But a new report by the Ghana School Service has revealed that 4 out of every 5 public sector employees earn less than 3,000. Out of the 688,000 persons employed in government, that's the public sector, 533,179 of them earn less than 3,000 cedis. Take a listen to the government's station on this.
Allowances pushes it to 23.7, deepens inequality. The inequality drops, but it drops marginally. Globally, if you think about this from a decision-making point of view, then clearly it is important that as a country we should assess our situation.
So we continue to study the various aspects of this report, subjected to some further analysis, but a number of you have been commenting on this, and this is what we got from you, our viewers, on Facebook, on Twitter as well. On this, and the question we ask is, what would be your salary expectation in the public sector? A few of the comments that we had earlier as well, we'll see on the screen shortly. Waru Roundup. This one here also says that Nana Sapong Asante says 15,000 CDs. That's in the public sector. Wow. I mean, that's, anyway, so there you go. This one says just 10,000 CDs. Antikosiba. I can understand this because of the state of the economy. 10 billion. Wow. Aaron Enchi is there. And then you have Sir Martin says 4,500 CDs. Realistic. 3,000 CDs, he says. McCarthy. Well, it says, then you have, apart from McCarthy as well, others. And this was limited to the public sector, as a matter of fact. So the others who are earning more than 33,000 are just less than 10%. The report says that 80% of them, that's the total public sector workers, over 600,000, and less than 3,000 CDs. How does this impact on productivity and the issues of corruption? We'll expand the tentacles of this conversation in the coming days. Thank you so much for staying with us here on Ghana Tonight. Join us same time tomorrow. I am Alfred Akansi. Good night.